everybody. Welcome to another edition of SacTown Movie Buffs. Once again, I'm Kierre, and this is Jason. And today we are back. We're continuing the second part of our top 10 films of 2010. If you caught the first part of our show, we basically did our number 10 through number 6 with our challenge films. So then this show will actually be our number 5 through number 1. And then we're also doing some honorable mentions. Did you have some too that you want to say? Your honorable mention.
This was I could bring in a few, but this year there wasn't ones that I was just dying to stick into the top 10 like usual, So I actually don't have any runner-ups prepared. Honestly, I forgot. Sorry.
That's dumb. That's fine. No, that's fine. At the end, if you want to just talk about a couple brief ones, and then that's fine. You could just share that. So,
sure.
Well, I say without further ado, I say we get right into it, man. So let's go ahead and start with your number 5 film of 2010, which I will bring in, which is Black Swan. Yes,
Black Swan. So, Black Swan is a film by one of my favorite filmmakers, Darren Aronofsky. He's one of my favorite filmmakers because he has consistently made movies that are, at the very, very least, interesting and unusual. And I like interesting and unusual. In fact, he's got one of a film that I think is probably, if I ever truly sat down and did my all-time top 10, I think Requiem for a Dream would be in there. That's one of my all-time favorite films. But he's also made Pi, Mother, which I really liked, The Fountain, Noah. Basically, I've liked all of his movies that I've seen that I can remember. And Black Swan is one that I don't watch as often as some of the other ones, but it's really, really good. And it's about a ballet dancer played by Natalie Portman, who is basically, it's debatable. It's ambiguous in some ways, but it seems like she's kind of losing her mind, and the whole movie is seen from her perspective, and as her mind is just kind of splintering. There's more to it than that, but that's the basic gist of it. I haven't seen it in a long time. Like I said, I don't return to it as much as often as some of the other ones, but it is one that I really enjoy, and just talking about it now, it makes me want to pull it off the shelf and watch it, because it's been several years. But yeah, it's really cool camera work. It's definitely unsettling and creepy, and really well acted too. So Black Swan.
Cool. Yeah, I like Black Swan. It's a really, really good film. It didn't make my top 10. It would be in my honorable mentions, however. I do like it. It is a very, very trippy film, very strange. So it's like one of those films that I think most people will generally like it. Most people generally do, but I could definitely see some people maybe being a little more hesitant about it, because it is a little weird. But that's kind of the director's style. Not like this one's not as risque as, say, like, it is a little risky, but not like Requiem for a Dream, which is very, there's some people that'll love that film. There's some people that I wouldn't even show it to. Like, I don't even know if I've never showed my fiance Requiem for a Dream, just because I don't know if that's what she's going to jive with or not. So this one's a little bit more of an easier watch, but it still is a little different, I guess, if you will. So,
Yeah, I remember seeing it in the theater and thinking, like, I remember being actually, like, surprised that it turned out to be a pretty big hit, actually.
Yeah.
Because I was watching it in a theater and I was like, I'm enjoying this, but man, a lot of people are going to wander into this and think, what the hell they just wandered into.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
But I pretty much everybody I know likes Black Swan, so it's apparently it has some almost universal appeal that I didn't expect it to have. That's for sure.
For sure. Yeah, no, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
My number 5 is going to be a film that pretty much everybody loves as well, which is going to be The Social Network. So that's my number 5. So yeah, just a really, really good film. Well done film. Obviously, one of the best films of 2011. I don't remember what the best picture, or for 2010. I don't remember what the best picture winner was for that year. It wasn't this, was it?
I can't remember. I can't remember.
I don't remember. I know this one was definitely one of the ones that was in like all the Oscar buzz and stuff like that. So I don't remember. It's been 10 years. So I don't remember. But I really like The Social Network. Obviously, the story is basically about how Facebook came to be. So so it kind of follows that whole story. Basically the idea was kind of in a nutshell stolen from some other guys that had some other app that they were working on, and we all know the story with Zuckerberg basically being in college with these guys and basically kind of like stealing their idea for the most part. So and became a billionaire off of it basically. But I don't feel bad for those twins because I hear they're doing pretty well as well. They've come up with other apps and things of that nature also. So
yeah.
You were going to say something about it?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. But yeah, it's my number 5. I definitely enjoy this one quite a bit. Definitely. I haven't seen it. I think I might have watched it once since then, maybe like in 2011 or something like that, or maybe right around Oscars I watched it again, but I haven't seen it again since then. So it's another one that I probably need to revisit again. But I definitely do enjoy it. My problem with films like these, though, is that I love them. They're great. But I don't know. They're not the kind of films that I'm always just going to pull out and watch just for the heck of it, I guess, because once I don't know, they're more like informative. I feel like it's just finding the story of like how Facebook came to be kind of thing. You know what I mean? And then once I get the gist of that, I don't know that I break that back out again and watch it all the time. That's just me though. So, but definitely one that I enjoy quite a bit. So.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. I love The Social Network. It's going to appear a little bit further up in my top 10. But yeah, I think it's great. David Fincher is one of my favorite filmmakers. One of my very favorite filmmakers. He's rarely made anything that I didn't totally love. So yeah, I love this movie. I remember hearing that he was making a documentary, a movie about Mark Zuckerberg and the creation of Facebook. And at this time, Facebook was still sort of fresh. What I mean? Like it had already been around a few years, but it still felt like this brand new thing. So I was like, I don't know. It just seemed like such an odd thing for David Fincher to do. You know what I mean? But
for what he normally does, it was a little bit kind of seemed like it was something. He usually does more edgier things, I feel like, and this one wasn't quite as. It didn't feel like it was going to be as edgy as some of the other films that he had done in the past, I guess. So.
Yeah, it is though. It is. It's really intense, really. And it's got a really great score by Trent Reznor. It's just a really good movie. I haven't watched it in a long time, but I remember watching it the second time, like at home. Like I saw it in the theater, and then I watched it at home one time, and I was kind of surprised by how like gripping it is as just a drama, And it would be interesting to revisit now because when it came out, like I said, social media was still kind of new. And I remember at the time, even like, I saw what he was doing. I was like, there was a time when I was like, oh, I think everybody's just being kind of hard on Zuckerberg. He brought this amazing thing into all of our lives. And now, like 10 years later, my opinion of social media has gone down quite a bit. So it would be interesting to revisit that to see with kind of newer eyes and I don't know. Now that my feelings have changed toward Facebook a lot, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think for everybody, their feelings towards social media has changed in some ways. I mean, you've got people that are, getting off of social media, or people going to these other side apps and kind of just what social media has become over the last decade. Like you said, back in 2010, 2008, whenever I first joined Facebook or whatever that might be, it wasn't what it is now. You know what I mean? It was just, it was kind of like, it was weird because at the time MySpace was so big, you know what I mean? Like prior to Facebook. And at that time, I liked MySpace because you were able to it was like your own little like world because you could bring in your own music. You know what I mean? People go to your page. It was all decorated in your own style. They had your own little uniqueness to it. And so I liked that. And so when Facebook came out, I was kind of like, this is kind of like a dumbed down version of MySpace. You know what I mean? Like it's not as fun. You know what I mean? It just wasn't as fun to me, and so I was like, when I joined like in 2007, 2008, I don't remember what year it was. The first couple of years, I liked it more because it was kind of dumbed down, because it didn't have all that craziness going on and stuff like that. It was just like a fun place just to kind of connect with friends and, share some ideas and stuff like that. But obviously in the last, I would say, because 2008, that was also around the time that, Obama became president. And then, in the somewhere between 2008 and somewhere between his reelection, I felt like Facebook just kind of took like this more political stance, you know what I mean? Like on either side, you know what I mean? People started becoming more opinionated and that sort of stuff. And that only got amped up even more, obviously, once Trump got into office, that's where it really, in the last 4 years, I think that's where it really became like, and nobody likes it anymore. Nobody's a fan of Facebook, in general. I mean, I go on there, I still post on there and that sort of stuff, but it's so opinionated now. I mean, that's all it is. I mean, you go to your news feeds now, it's not, it's either, Trump this or Democrats that, Republicans this, and that's pretty much 90% of my news feed, especially with what all that's going on right now, especially this last couple last things that have happened over the last week or two. But I mean that's just an everyday thing. So it is crazy. So yeah, like you said, to go back and revisit it and watch it, back when it was still kind of in its infancy would be interesting. So I agree.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Well, moving on to your number 4 film, which is Let Me In.
Yes. Yes. So Let Me In, I think, is a great movie. And this is one area where I find myself kind of in opposition to a lot of people, especially horror fans, because this is a case, rare, but it's a case where not only do I love the remake, but I actually prefer it to the original. And not only do I prefer it, I strongly prefer it because, frankly, granted, I've only seen it once. I should probably give it another chance one of these days because it is, it has been 12 years or whatever. But Let the Right One In is like a beloved film by many, many people, and it just didn't do anything for me. Like it didn't do anything for me. I didn't dislike it, but it didn't do anything for me. So I vastly prefer Let Me In, which is the American version of the story. Not because it's American, but I just think it's a better movie. I think it's better acted. I think Chloe Grace Moretz is great in it. Richard Jenkins is really great in it. I think the filmmaking is better. Like the camera work, the cinematography, the soundtrack's better because it's set in the 80s and it's got all this cool 80s music in it. But not all the predictable choices, like some interesting song choices. And I just think the filmmaking's better, the acting's better, it's scarier, it's more intense. I just think it's a better movie all around in every way. So maybe one day I'll rewatch Let the Right One In, and then I'll beg forgiveness. But right now, I would still love this movie. I still just think it's a really great vampire movie, and I would if it was a remake or not. So yeah, I love this movie. Let Me In, definitely my number 4.
Yeah, I prefer it to the original as well. It didn't make my top 10. I don't think that it made my honorable mentions. It probably just missed it. It probably would have been like number 16 or 17, but it is in my top 25, which I pretty much like most of the films. Usually in my top 20, 25. So it is really, really good. I definitely agree, and I personally know a lot of people that prefer the original, but I go back to the old argument. Most people usually prefer the original in most cases. You know what I mean? Like that's almost 90% of the time. You know what I mean? Where it's very rare that you have something that's remade and people prefer the remake over the original. I mean, like I said, it's just one of those things that you just have to just deal with. I feel like, because the way I look at it is the original is the reason why they remade it. You know what I mean? So it's like, people just can't wrap their head around that. So I think there's most people that will be like, what? No way. The original is way better. You know what I mean? And I personally just like the remake also. Granted, the remake is an American film versus the original is foreign. I feel the same way about The Ring and Ringu, and you know what I mean. And I just like the remake better, and maybe because I'm American, I don't know if that's the reason why, but I just feel like that with a bigger budget, maybe they're able to do more creative things, and I feel like that maybe makes the difference. Because Let Me In, I feel like had maybe a little bit of a bigger budget. They obviously had bigger name stars for the remake and in that capacity. So I don't know, maybe that's part of it. Maybe because they were able to take some of the things that maybe was lacking in the original and bring that into the remake. I don't know. So, but I agree with you as well. So.
Yeah, I'm not anti-remake in any way. Like,
No,
I think I
no.
get into a lot of arguments because a lot of people, and maybe it's more, especially horror fans, especially I think, just have this knee-jerk reaction to be offended at the very idea of a remake, and I don't feel that way because I mean there have been a lot of really great remakes, and
Right.
I think you're shutting yourself out to a lot of good experiences that way. I mean, John Carpenter's The Thing is a remake, and that's I mean that's a remake, you know. So if you don't give any remakes a chance, you could be missing out on some really good stuff, you know. And honestly, like you kind of like what you hinted at, the fact that a movie's being remade is a compliment. That means that story will keep going. You know what I mean? Like stories have been retold and told and told over the centuries. You know what I mean? That means it's a strong story that people are trying to keep alive. You know, and yeah, you could say like, oh, you know, the 1975 original is better, sure, but what young person now is going to seek that out, that 1975 original? They're going to see this one, and then they may want to go back and see the original, but this will keep it going. You know, I mean, if you just keep it in 1975, it's just gonna get older and older, and less people are going to see it. So
yeah, because 20 years from now, no one's really going to care that much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, great choice though. I definitely enjoy that film.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, great. Moving on to my number 4. My number 4 is actually going to be a film that was in your the bottom half of your top 10, which is going to be, Toy Story 3. Sorry about that. So that's my number 4 for 2010. Yeah, I just really enjoy that. I think it's great. You know, I don't know where I rank all of them, but I felt like Toy Story 3 was definitely the most, I hate to say adult film, but it was definitely, you know, of the 3, it was definitely the one that had the most pull at the heartstrings, I feel like the most, and it definitely had some real conflict, you know, some real, you know, death imminent kind of stuff going on. You know what I mean? It definitely, you know, had some fear. You know, definitely, I could definitely see people, you know, tearing up in the theaters when, you know, it was, you know, things were getting ready to happen and that kind of stuff. So it was a very, you know, I really felt like they really stepped their game up with the third one, especially the third of any series is always kind of, you know, questionable whether or not it's going to be, you know, great or good or whatever case may be. You know what I mean? It's always hard to keep that magic going by the third film, and they were able to continue doing that. I can't say so much for the sequels that came afterwards, but this one was definitely really good. And like I said, it's right there. If it's not the best one, it's at least on par with 2 and 1 for sure, in my opinion. So
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I already talked about that one last time. So yeah, I'm a big fan of that one. Yeah, good choice.
Cool. All that we need to say about that one then, since we already had that discussion. Moving on to your number 3. Yeah, we're number 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which is going to be Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yes, I love this movie. I saw it probably, I think, at least 3 times in the theater, and I've watched it at least twice at home. But I love this movie. I think it's so much fun. I have not read the graphic novel. I understand it originated with a graphic novel, so I don't know anything about these characters really. But it's just a super fun movie. It's made almost like a video game, except that it's live action. But I just love this world that it's set in. I love these characters. I love the music. It makes me laugh. The cast is great. It's just, I've seen, you know, quite a few movies, but I've never seen one that is quite like Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I think it's a really special movie in a lot of ways. So, and it just reminded me that I don't have the soundtrack. I should probably buy the soundtrack. So I'll probably buy the soundtrack after we're done here. So, yeah.
Okay.
It only took me 10 years to realize that. So
yeah, nothing. Hey man, hey, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all.
yeah. But yeah,
cool.
I love that movie. I didn't talk anything about the plot, but I mean, Michael Cera plays Scott Pilgrim, and he's got to before he can go out with the woman that he likes, he has to defeat her 5 evil ex-boyfriends through battle, kind of like a video game, kind of like, you know, Double Dragon or whatever, where you have to, or Street Fighter, where you have to beat the bosses one after one until you're done. But it's kind of like that. But it's just a crazy, crazy movie. I love it. So yeah, that's my number 3.
Cool.
Yeah.
I got a revelation about this film. So when I first watched this film, I actually watched it basically illegally streamed. And so the audio and the picture was not very good on this one. It was a very, very bad copy. So I did like it, but I feel like I never really gave it the best chance because of the audio and video issues that I had with it. So I did end up buying it like used or something like that at Blockbuster. So I have it. I just never ever rewatched it. So it's definitely one that I should probably rewatch again at some point. But I do remember really liking it, obviously enough to buy it on Blu-ray. But it didn't make my top 10, maybe partially because I need to rewatch it again. So who knows? You know, maybe someday we'll do where are they now? Top 10. We list off, but you know, I feel like a top 10 list changes all the time, anyways. Though, so you know what I mean. I mean, the top 10s that we're talking about today, were not the top 10s that we gave 10 years ago when we first watched all these films, and we also probably have seen some more films from those years that maybe slid into that. You know what I mean? Because obviously, I can't see every film that year. 2020, I didn't get to watch everything, and whenever I do my top 10 list for 2020, I'm sure there'll be other films that I'll get around to that maybe I liked enough to bump something out of my top 10. So
right. Yeah, I do recommend checking that out again, though, because that is one. I mean, every movie really, but that is one in particular where the audio and the visual is real important.
Exactly.
Really,
and I think that ruined it for me a little bit, because it was like, I had like the little squiggly lines going through it sometimes, or then the problem with using the legal download ones or whatever. I don't know if it was a legal download or if I got a bootleg copy. I can't remember now. It might have even been a bootleg copy of it. So, which is even worse probably. So, but definitely one that I'll have to revisit again at some point. So
for sure, man.
And I own it, so there's no reason why I can't rewatch it whenever I want to.
Rewatch it now.
Cool. All right. I'm out of here. I'll come back and
after we're done, I'll buy the soundtrack. You watch the movie, then we'll talk again.
There we go. Until then, you're dead to me. Cool. Moving on to my number 4. Number 3. I'm sorry. Or number 3 already. Is actually going to be The Karate Kid. I really like this movie quite a bit. I thought it was fun. It's a remake that I don't think is better than the original. But I definitely really, really love this film. I thought it was great. I think Jaden Smith was really, really good. I really like Jackie Chan in it. It had a really more updated, more modern feel to it than the original Karate Kid. And, I definitely like the original Karate Kid better than this one, but over the years, there's been a lot of things that have come out about the Karate Kid where you watch the film again and you could see incidences where, Danielson maybe in some instances had what was coming to him, because he wasn't exactly the nicest kid. You know what I mean? He did some things in there that you're like, okay, yeah, definitely. He kind of maybe deserved to get beat up in that instance, or he, maybe should have minded his own business in that instance. And the original one, and I know we're talking about the remake. I just remember that they have a whole thing about like how he was the villain or whatever. And there's some things that are a little bit of a stretch or whatever, like him butting into like an ex-boyfriend and girlfriend conversation to like taking the ball away or whatever in that scene. Okay, that one. But there is a scene where the main bad guy Johnny is in the bathroom, like smoking a joint or whatever, and just for like almost no reason he comes in and like douses him with water or whatever. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't even bothering him then. You know what I mean? And he just comes and just forcefully does that. So just, when I do watch it again, I do see some of those issues. And then like obviously they have the new show on Netflix, the Cobra Kai, where they kind of touch on some of those things that maybe he wasn't exactly the most the best kid either. He deserves some of the butt kicking that he got in that film. You know what I mean? Like, but this one was different. Obviously, the main kid in this one, Jaden Smith's a little bit younger than he was. He's more like middle school or something like that. But the fighting is good, the action's good, the villains are really funny. The fight scenes are a little more amped up in this one because it's more like kung fu in this one than it is like karate. It's more kung fu in this one. But I enjoyed it. I thought this is a great film. One that I really really love, and one that I watch. Maybe every other year I check this one out. So.
Cool. Yeah, I love the Karate Kid remake, and that's another one where a lot of people who really lean on the nostalgia were like, "Oh my god, I can't believe they're attempting a Karate Kid remake," and they probably never even watched it. Yeah, but it's a really good movie. It's a really good movie, and honestly, I haven't seen the original Karate Kid in so long. I mean, it's probably been 15 years or more. Honestly, right. I have the DVD. Right. So I should watch it again. And I haven't watched Cobra Kai either, even though I've heard so many good things about it. I'll probably watch the first Karate Kid and then start Cobra Kai finally. But right. So I don't remember any of the things you're talking about really. But
yeah, when you watch it now, you'll definitely see there's some things that he does that's like he wasn't exactly, you know what I mean, and like he kind of eggs them on a little bit. There's like when he's training for like the tournament or whatever, there was a scene where they go to like the dojo of the Cobra Kai dojo, and the instructor basically says, you lay off the kid until the tournament, no one's allowed to touch him, right? So then he goes to school the next day and he's like egging them on. He's like, "What are you guys gonna do? You guys can't touch me." You know what I mean? Like he's just like he's kind of a little punk. You know what I mean? Like so there is that. You know what I mean? So
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, you gotta watch it again. You'll definitely notice some of that stuff. He definitely does things in there that you're like he kind of almost had it coming to him in some cases. I'm not saying they should have jumped him and beat him up, but he definitely, he wasn't like this good kid minding his own business the entire time, and these guys just were picking on him for no reason because he was a new kid in school. You know what I mean? He definitely inserted himself into places where maybe, you might have had it coming. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, definitely. But I'm not saying that this one's better. Because they're just different, but I definitely got a lot of joy out of watching this one. And this is the one that I probably will watch more often than the original one, just because the original one's maybe a little dated or whatever. So,
right.
The original one does have the cool summer song, which I love, though. So,
okay.
Cool.
Yep.
All right. Moving on to number 2 for you, and I'll bring that in. Is going to be Inception.
Inception, yes. Like some of the other filmmakers we've talked about, Darren Aronofsky and David Fincher, Christopher Nolan is also one of my favorite filmmakers. He's rarely, like those others, he's made a lot of really great movies, and he's rarely done any that have disappointed me. And I think Inception is one of his very best. Probably, maybe even, I think Memento will always be my favorite Christopher Nolan movie, always, no matter what.
Probably. But, I think for me too.
Yeah. And but I think probably, in fact, I was just ranking them with a friend recently, and at first I put Memento at 1, Dark Knight at 2, and Inception at 3. Honestly, I think I might switch those. I might make Inception number 2, honestly, because I love The Dark Knight, but it does take kind of a dive after Heath Ledger leaves the picture a little bit. It's still great, but I think Inception is probably the better movie overall. I think it's great. It's really exciting. It's really long, but it's paced really well. Like I just watched it maybe a couple of months ago for the first time in a long time, and it really holds up really, really well. It does not feel 10 years old, that's for sure. So yeah, I mean, pretty much everybody's seen Inception. I don't really need to tell about. It's going into dreams and all kinds of crazy visuals and insane action sequences, and it's just an awesome movie all through and through. So yeah, that's my number 2 for sure.
Yeah, and I would just bring this up right now. It's also my number 2 as well,
Okay.
so we can just continue talking about it.
Okay.
So, makes it super simple and easy. Yeah, it actually is my number 2 for 2010 as well. Yeah, I love this movie. It's just great. Like I said, it definitely is up there. I like Memento, which is funny because Memento is like we always talk about this. It's his most simplest film for Nolan, in my opinion. But it's also probably my favorite Christopher Nolan film, but this one is probably number 2 for me also of his films, not only for this year, but of his films. I'm kind of with you on The Dark Knight also. I feel like it's really, really great. But like you said, once, the villains was what really makes the Dark Knight films. You know what I mean? And we've had this conversation before. I really love, Christian Bale is great and there's nothing wrong with him, but I feel like Christian Bale is a better Bruce Wayne than he is Batman, you know what I mean? And the villains are what really make the Dark Knight films, in my opinion, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or when he's being Bruce Wayne, you know what I mean? Like the first, the Dark Knight, the original film,
Batman Begins,
or whatever. Most of that film, he's Bruce Wayne. You know what I mean? He doesn't really become Batman until later in the film or whatever, you know what I mean? And so I enjoy that story. I just feel like his voice was so gruff and stuff like that. So I do have a few issues with that, but Inception is great. I think it's great. It's a fun film, and a lot of Christopher Nolan films are a little hard to explain in many ways. But somebody made a reference in another group I was in that said that all of his films are about time in some form. And it's right. They are. They're all about time in some form or some capacity. There's different elements of that, but they're all about time. Either time being reversed, time, with sleep in your dream, time with, Tenet, where forward and back, and going back in time, and you know what I mean. And then Interstellar,
even Dunkirk.
Yeah,
even Dunkirk, because it's 3 separate stories that are on 3 different timelines.
Right, exactly.
I think if I remember right, one of the stories is just a single day, and then one of the stories is like a week, and one of the stories is like a month. But they're all. It takes you a while to kind of understand that. Right. I think it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, I like Christopher Nolan. I think he's a phenomenal director. He's not up there with my favorites. I'm always going to lean towards more like Tarantino or Scorsese. There's a little bit more my style. His stuff is so vast that and this movie included, it's so vast that it sometimes it takes a little while to wrap your head around it a little bit. But but it is an enjoyable film, and I definitely do like it quite a bit. So
yeah,
but cool.
Yeah, awesome.
Cool. Well,
oh, by the way, not to go off on a tangent, but I did just rewatch Tenet, and I can confirm that it's much, much better the second time.
Yeah, but you say that almost about everything. So, I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. And you even go into films. I don't know. I feel like with you, you're gonna like it better because you almost already go into. I think on the second viewing, it's gonna play a lot better, and then it always does for you. So,
well, that's usually true. It's usually true.
So I don't know. So I don't. I have to take what you say with a grain of salt because you say that almost about everything. Any film that you're kind of on the offense about or didn't love as much, you'll. Well, on the second viewing, I think it's gonna, and then of course, the second viewing. It blows your mind. So I don't know. It's a pattern for you. So
no, I just think that's the way art is. You know what I mean? Like the first time, especially for a movie like that, the first time it's all noise. You can't make sense of it. But it's like when you hear a song the first time, you don't know it like the back of your hand. You don't know you love the song until you've heard it a few times. And you hear how things work together, and you hear same way with a movie, especially like that. Like it just the feeling you get when you watch a Tarantino movie, you notice new things every time you watch it, but you also increase your enjoyment of everything that you knew was coming up. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like it's like, I don't know, whatever. I'm right.
All right. Nothing wrong with that. Great. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see myself revisiting it anytime soon. There wasn't enough for me to want to revisit it, but cool. Glad you enjoyed it. But who knows? Maybe someday. Who knows?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, moving on to your number 1 film, since we already did my number 2. And I'll bring that in. That'll be quick and easy, which is going to be The Social Network.
Yeah. We already kind of went into detail about that one, but yeah, that's my number 1 of the year. for sure. I think it's a masterpiece. It's just a great movie, and one that I haven't probably seen in a long time, but I need to revisit and see how well it plays these days, now that the social media landscape is even darker than it was in 2010. So should be interesting. But yeah, I love that movie. Number one.
Cool. Yeah, well, we already discussed it, so I don't need to elaborate on anymore. But yeah, definitely great. I mean, obviously, it was in my top 5, so I'm not going to fight you over the placement of it. So, I mean, anything in both our top 10s is we loved. So,
yes. Oh, yeah.
Definitely great choice for sure. So, cool. Well, that was easy. My number one is actually going to be The Town. I just love this movie. I think it's great. I know it gets a little bit of, a lot of people compare it to Heat because it's kind of that same kind of setup where it's like a group of like bank robbers and a group of like cops. And so it has that same kind of follow up of kind of like Heat, and Heat is definitely a better film. That Heat's like my number, like, Heat's in my all-time top 10 of all time. But this one I loved. I thought it was great. I thought the story was really good. I thought the action was good. The characters, I think they give you a little bit, you learn a little bit more about the characters in this film as opposed to Heat. It's mostly more the main two guys, and the main cop and the main bad guy in Heat. This one, you really get to find out a little bit more about all the bad guys and a little bit more of their story and that kind of stuff. And it's got some different elements to it. So I don't like to compare the two, but they do have that same kind of similarities. Another film that follows that same pattern is that I didn't like this one, not one nearly as much, was Den of Thieves. That's another one that's the same thing, where it's like a group of bad guys and a group of cops, bank robbers, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I thought the action was good. I thought the story was great. For me, this really cemented, Ben Affleck just being a really, really good director. I think he's, I think he gets a lot of flack. I feel like in general, for acting and directing, but I think he does both of them really, really well. And I think it showed in this film also. So, I mean, but yeah, definitely love The Town. That is my number one film of 2010.
Cool. Yeah. I've only seen that once, and I remember liking it a lot. But I don't know, for whatever reason, not enough of it has stuck in my brain to cause me to place it anywhere on a list. You know what I mean? Like I would need to watch it again and remind myself why I liked it so much. And I haven't seen it in 10 years. So, but yeah, I remember liking it a lot for sure. And I do think Ben Affleck gets a lot of flack for no good reason, because I think he's not the world's greatest actor, but he's a good actor. He's a solid actor, and he's definitely a good director.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I knew that from the first 5 minutes of Gone Baby Gone. I was like, oh, this is like a movie. This is good.
It's like a movie. So, this guy kind of knows what he's doing.
I know. I could tell that from the opening credits. You know what I mean? So yeah. What did he do? Has he done anything since Argo? I can't remember. Like, he did those 3, and I don't think he's directed anything since.
Yeah, I know he's been acting more because he was in the Batman, and then he did that the way back. I don't know if he directed that one. I think he just acted in that one.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think he's a fine actor, but I think he should make some more movies.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely directing is more his jam. Yeah, for sure. And Argo definitely was his. It wasn't my favorite but it was probably the biggest height that he reached was with Argo. So
yeah, they got lots of Oscars nominations at least.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was definitely nominated for Best Picture. I don't think it won, but it got nominated for Best Picture. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
I don't think
it was fine, but it's probably my least favorite of the 3.
Yeah, it's my least favorite of the 3. Yeah. But I definitely, but all 3 of them were good. They're all good films. You know what I mean?
So. Yeah.
Cool. I don't know if you had any honorable mentions, but we don't have to do it if you didn't bring them. So.
The Karate Kid would definitely be top honorable mention, probably. But it was kind of an easy year. It wasn't like some years where I've got like 45 movies that I want to talk about. So there were other good movies.
Yeah,
there were other good movies for sure.
Yeah, there were only a couple that I really wanted just to stress, and that was one of them was Black Swan. That would have been in my honorable mentions. I really liked The Book of Eli as well, and then I really liked Get Him to the Greek. That was really funny. I really enjoyed that one quite a bit. And then one of the ones that really grew over me over the years was Devil. That one really grew on me over the years. I've seen that a few times, and those are just some of the ones I just wanted to just stress that if you haven't seen any of those ones, definitely urge anyone to check those ones out. So
yeah, I enjoyed Devil. It was that coincidentally the movie I wanted you to watch, Catfish. We were going to see Catfish, and we went to the wrong theater. It was in San Francisco on vacation, so we ended up going to see Devil instead, and really enjoyed it. So yeah, The Karate Kid Beginners is really good. Meek's Cutoff is really good. Kind of unconventional Western. And a movie called Black Death is really good. It's set during the bubonic plague. It is starring Sean Bean from Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, basically, if you like seeing Sean Bean in like, you know, nightly, you know, get up with swords and a really violent setting, then definitely watch this. If you like him in that kind of setting, it's a really gory, intense horror movie set during the bubonic plague. So thumbs up for me.
Cool. Yeah. And then we do have some challenge films for 2011. So you got a film for me. Let me go ahead and remove this real quick though. So you had a film for me that you want me to watch for 2011 that I haven't seen. And then I got a film for you for 2011 that you haven't seen. So what was your film for me?
Okay, so I can't decide. So I'm going to ask you to pick a number between 1 and 100.
75.
75? All right. You're going to be watching The Muppets.
Okay. What was the other choice?
Final Destination 5.
Oh.
They're both good. They're both really good.
All right. Well, yeah, whenever we decide we're going to get around to shooting that show, I'll definitely watch that. Yours was a little tough too. I ultimately went with the one that I like better. So you're actually going to be watching Columbiana. So.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. I've always kind of wanted to see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So really, really good female action film. So I think you'll like that one. So.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Definitely should be a lot of fun. So.
It's not as good as The Muppets though.
Oh yeah.
No, it's really good, man. It's really funny. It's got a lot of great songs in it. It's good.
Yeah, you know how much I love songs and movies, man. You know, me and musicals are right up there, man. So cool.
Hey, man, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Trust me.
Yeah, I was deciding between that and actually The Sitter was the other one I was going to decide between. Because it's just like a wacky comedy. You know, like I said, it didn't get very good reviews, but it's got the bad guys are really, really funny in there. So I don't know, a bad guy that rides around on roller skates is something very funny.
Okay, all right.
But I ultimately went Columbiana. I think you have a better shot of definitely liking that one. So.
I thought you were going to have me watch The Hangover 2 or Bad Teacher.
Yeah, I like Bad Teacher. I didn't love that one, so I wouldn't have chose that one. The Hangover 2, I didn't choose because you didn't really care for the first one. So, yeah.
I didn't hate it, but you know, I don't love it as much as everybody else. That's for sure.
Yeah, so I didn't think because the second one's not as good and it's in that same vein. So you know, there was really no point in me suggesting that one for you at that point. So
yeah.
So, but yeah, cool. Well, those are the films we're gonna be watching. Cool.
All right.
Well,
enjoy The Muppets.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
if you want extra credit, watch Final Destination 5 too.
Yeah, if you want extra credit, watch The Sitter.
Okay. Maybe I will.
But yeah, well, we thank you guys for watching. Obviously, if you like the channel, or obviously, obviously, if you like the channel, definitely subscribe. But I was going to say, if there's any films that you like or that we didn't mention in our countdown that you thought were great, definitely be sure to mention down in the comments. As always, give us a like, thumbs up, subscribe, and then always make sure you hit the bell notification so you don't miss any of our updates. And we'll be back again soon with another show for you guys shortly. We thank you for watching and hope you have a great day. Bye.